You are now listening to the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, the Going North podcast. I'm your host, certified self-leadership trainer and author of the best-selling book, Stay the Course, Dom Brightman. And you're going to be getting some goodies today from the guest that's up next. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, the Going North podcast, aka GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, we got one heck of a super special, awesome human for you today, my friends, because my goodness, this guest today probably fits all three of those G's, because she's freaking glamorous, and she's freaking gorgeous, and she's got a great story to tell, because she's a recovering corporate workaholic, y'all. That's right. A speaker and certified life and reinvention coach. And you know we love reinvention here, y'all. That's focused on helping women transform their lives and achieve their dreams. And through her signature Edit Your Life program, trademark, she offers one-on-one coaching, giving women all the tools and techniques needed to conquer fears and find their purpose. And to put the icing on the cake with some sprinkles and 2 cherries on top, she's a wife with 2 kids and resides in the great state of South Kakalaki, South Carolina. So let's give it up for the one, the only, KF herself, Miss Karin Freeland. How you doing today, Karin?
Hi, I'm better now that I'm here hanging out with you. Thanks for having me.
Yes indeed. That's right. Welcome. You've signed up for the trap. You think this is a podcast interview, but we're talking about corn for the next 45 minutes.
I'm a corn connoisseur, actually. I'm just kidding.
Oh, good. All right. She's a corn connoisseur. I love this. This is good. All right. Happy corn. That's right. All the happy corn indeed. That's right. Especially the corn with the sunshades on it. Just poking at people. Be like, yeah, that's right. With the 2 fingers.
I got candy corn. I got creamed corn. I got cornbread. I'm like the guy from Forrest Gump with the shrimp. You can make shrimp gumbo. You can make shrimp whatever. I'm like that with corn.
Good. Alrighty, sweet. Well, this is going to be a corn maze of puns on all the buns indeed. But hey, before we get to the corn maze, I'm pretty sure I forgot a whole bunch of stuff about you, Karin. So mind filling in any cavities I missed about you?
Yeah, sure. So I call myself a recovering corporate workaholic. I spent 15 years chasing paychecks and titles, trying to climb that ladder to see how high I could go, only to wake up one day and realize that I was actually miserable and I was in the midst of a midlife crisis. Self-diagnosed, but that's pretty much what I was going through. And so I found my creativity and I found my rebirth in writing a book called The Ins and Outs of My Vagina, a Penetrating Memoir. And so a lot of people hear the title and they're like, whoa, you left corporate to go write a book about your vagina? And I'm like, yeah, pretty much that sums it up. But I will tell you, it is about so much more than just my body part, right? It really is about this journey to womanhood and all the things that we experience through our life, told in a very comedic and cathartic way that women will, and men, but predominantly women will read this and they will just resonate with all these experiences. It's laugh out loud funny, and men can learn a thing or two. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Hey, that's all good. Nutshell. Cashew or almond?
Ooh, cashew. I'm going to go cashew.
You're good people. All right, you get to stay on the show. That's right.
I got that one right.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yeah, you're so writing is very interesting indeed because it's like it's kind of like a buzzword nowadays because of the times that we're in, the word misinformation, but like you didn't really get all the information growing up, which kind of led to you writing this book because if I'm not mistaken, there were some times where it's like, oh, this happened, but really it was something else.
Oh, there are so many instances in my life where I have been totally clueless about my body. Like I legitimately thought I had an STD in college, but it was a urinary tract infection. But no one tells you, oh, you should urinate after intercourse. That's just like a fun fact you get to find out later in life. Like, surprise, gotcha. You found out the hard way. And I'm like, what is wrong with people? How is this not like health class 101? Like, why are we not teaching people these things and just expecting them to hear about it on the grapevine or learn about it on the internet, God forbid, or whatever? It's like, no, we have got to start giving factual information to young women at an early age to make sure they know these things when they get older. And obviously not too early. I mean, I typically say my book, you can be safe 18 and up, right? 18 and up definitely can read the book. Depending on your child and your personal feelings, I mean, that you could be 16 and read the book, maybe 15 or 14. It just depends on how mature the child is, I think.
Well, yeah, I can say that again. Yeah, because it's like, I'm all for like learning stuff as quickly as you can, but within reason. Like with stuff like
Yeah,
this, it's like, hey, at least have some darn decorum.
sure. Yeah. Like you do not need to be reading this at like 8 or 9 years old. Like they will be freaked out, rightly so. But, I think we wait too long so many times. Moms don't want to think that their daughters are being sexually active, and maybe they are. And wouldn't it be helpful if they at least knew how to maybe say no if they were uncomfortable in a situation, or they knew how to stand up for themselves, or they knew how to properly care for themselves after intercourse? I don't know. I mean, I have boys, so maybe my tune would change if I had girls. I don't know, but I'd like to think that if I had young girls that I would be educating them as well.
There you go. She's a boy mom, y'all. That's right. That's right. She's like, yay, I want to do ponytails. Yay. Let
Oh
me
my
stop.
gosh. You should see me with a gel in the morning trying to do their hair. It is like a disaster. It really is. I'm like, can you just wear a hat to school? Just put a hat on.
I do that every day myself too. Shoot. Wear a
Right?
hat every day. Like, forget that. It's like, oh yeah, church. Oh, I gotta take my hat off, darn. Uh,
Oh, dinner table. Oh, right. Maybe I should take my hat off.
oh, it's like, and the yarmulke doesn't cover everything, so that
Yep.
hat's out the option too. So, yeah, darn. Yeah, but hey, what's another option is the fact that if also with you quitting corporate to
Mm.
write this book, if I'm not mistaken, it was 11 years in the making for you to finally press the start button for this, right?
It was. I started this book in 2009 while I was on maternity leave with my first son. And I write all about how this book came to be in chapter 30, all lubed up with nowhere to go. And so, oh my gosh, the chapter titles are insane. They're so fun. I had so much fun creating this book. Seriously. So
Okay.
maybe I should explain a little bit. I'll just give a little teaser for your listeners. So when I was pregnant, my OB told me that you are supposed to prepare your body for birth with, I think the proper term is like a perennial or perineal, some sort of massage it's called. But really it was just like rub some olive oil on your like female taint and like stretch yourself out so that when you have the baby, you won't tear. And I just remember sitting in the doctor's office being like, yeah, okay, lady, you crazy. But bye, have a nice day. Like, thanks for the info. I'm never doing that. And then, of course, my vagina was like, maybe we should try this. So I went ahead and gave it a go on a Friday evening when my husband was working the night shift. And he comes home and he's like, what happened in the bathroom? There's olive oil everywhere. And I was like, well, I tried this little experiment. And he was like, oh my gosh, you should write a book and call it I Don't Know My Vagina, because you clearly have no idea how this thing works. And I was like, that's dumb. Why would I do that? Who would read a book about my vagina? Like, what would I even say? But honestly, a seed was planted and I started brainstorming all these ideas. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's that time when I lost my virginity. And there's that time that, I got that bikini wax. And like, there were all these little hilarious mostly mishaps, things that went terribly wrong in my life that involved V, in my vagina, who's a character in the book. And I was like, I have to tell this story. I think I'm going to start writing it. But, I went back to work after maternity leave, and one thing led to another. I got promoted, and then I was like, okay, I'm climbing the ladder again. And I just kind of put it to the side. And it was a little bit of a pet project. Once in a while I'd pick it up, I'd write a chapter or two, and then I'd just call it a day. And when 2019, we had 2 deaths in the family within about 4 months of each other. And that just rocked me to my core. I just suddenly was facing my mortality. Like, it just felt so real and so close to me. And I was about 39 at the time. So, most people are like, oh, you got a lot of living. You're still young. And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not great at math, but like, even if I make it to 80, like, I'm midlife, y'all. Like, I'm midlife. And it just felt like I was running out of time. And I just couldn't wrap my head around the fact that I was sent here. Like, I'm put here on this earth for a reason. And it can't be to make PowerPoints all day to justify my existence to other people. Like, I just cannot do that anymore. So I watched The Secret, that video about the law of attraction. Are you familiar with this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yes. So we love law of attraction. And Jack Canfield was on talking about his Chicken Soup for the Soul series. And out of nowhere, this light bulb just went off. And I was like, my memoir, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish my memoir, and I'm going to use the money from my day job to actually fund getting an editor and like bringing this whole thing to fruition. And so that's what I did. I'd come home from work for my day job, my 9 to 5. And instead of working at night, like I used to do, I would write. And sometimes it was 15 minutes. Sometimes it was an hour. Sometimes I would stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning because I was just like on fire. I was like cranking out chapters. And I showed it to my cousin, who was a 50-year-old man, and he was an English teacher, and he was my first editor. And I was like, hey, you want to make some money? And he's like, what are you going to like get me into like an MLM scheme? Like, what do you mean you want to make some money? And I was like, no, just hear me out. I'm like, I got this book. I'm like, could you be my editor? And he's like, I'm an English teacher, but he's like, send it to me. I'll read it. And he sent me a message the next morning, and he said, I stayed up all night. I could not put it down. I laughed. I cried. I had no idea that you went through so many of these experiences. He's like, you are going to be on Oprah someday. And I was like, I don't think she has a show anymore. I don't know. But I was like, okay, the fact that a 50-year-old man could read my book and go, I get it. This is good. Like this is something that you actually need to like pursue, set off the whole chain of events. And I hired an editor. And then from there, it was about 2 years to really bring it to market, working on it nearly every day. Such a journey.
Yeah, that's right. The journey. It ain't even over. It's just starting, indeed. It's just starting.
You know what? That's so funny you say that, because I kept telling my family when I was writing the book, I'm like, I just got to get through writing the book. Like, once the book is done, like things are going to settle down. Just like, let me get through this. No. And then I submit the book, and then I'm like, oh, now I just got to launch the book. I just got to launch the book. Once the book is launched, I'm planning it all out now, then it's going to be good. No, now I launched the book. Now I got to sell the book. Right. So it's like every time I think it's like, oh, I'm going to get a little break. It's like, no, you're still on this ride. Like, you still have to push and go. But, it doesn't feel like work because I love it. I'm finally really stepping into my true purpose and doing what I was meant to be doing. And that feels so good.
That's right. So good indeed. That's right indeed. She's the VE, y'all, the vagina evangelist. I'm telling you.
That's right. I should have that in like my signature. Like, that should be part of my title. Like, owner of Karin Freeland Life Coach and VE.
That's right. Spreading the good word of why you need to pay attention to your later parts indeed, and what you need to know that they didn't teach you in school.
Yes. And where, like, too, for men, like, men need to understand that women be faking this. So like, if you really want to have a better relationship with your woman, you need to like check in and make sure you understand like what her, as my friend Nina, who's a sex coach, calls it, your orgasm formula. Like everyone has their own formula, but we don't talk about this, right? Men get off from penetration. So they assume that women will get off the same way. In fact, we don't. Only about 20% of women actually can orgasm from penetration. So I'm not a sex coach by any stretch of the imagination, but through telling my story, I'm helping so many women who have felt broken, who felt like, am I the only one that doesn't get off in this fashion? Am I the only one having an orgasmless marriage or very, infrequent? And they're reading this book going, oh my gosh, it's not just me. It's other women. Okay. Like we've all been sold a lie with all these movies and TV shows that you see, right? Of these people like in the throes of passion. And what that does is it eats away at your own happiness because you're trying to compare yourself to what you think everyone else is experiencing. It's just like Facebook, you scroll down. What do people do? They put the highlights. They put the time they went out to dinner. They put the time that they went on their very fun vacation, and you're sitting in your own life going, oh, I don't have this much fun. Look, they're always going places, or they're always going out to dinner or doing this. And then you crave that. But what they don't show you is all the negative things that are going on in their life, right? So it's really, it's very much the same thing. So I think what women will find when they read this book is an authenticity and an honesty that hasn't really been conveyed or written about before in matters of the vagina. At least that's what I hope.
Oh, that's right. The vagina evangelist and educator. She's the V. The V
Well,
double E.
you know what's so funny? Because Dr. Lori Mintz, who is the author of the book, A Tired Woman's Guide to Passionate Sex and Becoming Clitorate, endorsed my book. So she read it and gave a wonderful testimonial about the book. But she came back and she said, girlfriend, you are using the word vagina and vulva incorrectly in this book. And I go, well, yeah, that's why the book was originally titled, I Don't Know My Vagina, because I don't understand how this stupid thing works. So she actually had me put a little disclaimer in the front of the book about how the word vagina and vulva are used, and they're not, they're not interchangeable. They're actually two different things. So I thought that was pretty funny that I wouldn't go as far as to call me a sex educator. Evangelist, I can get away with evangelist, but I don't think I passed the educator test.
Yeah, the real doctor gave you the real scoop. That's right.
Yes, she did. Thankfully, and thank goodness, because I need help. And help.
Don't we all need help indeed? So my goodness. So in this stage, especially what you mentioned earlier with the that I can resonate with, the part's like, oh yeah, I get this book done, it'll be fine. I get to coast along, yay! I get the surfboard. Oh crap, no! After it gets the cover and everything, gotta launch it. Oh, I gotta sell it, and each of those, I guess, parts of you, kind of pun intended there, I guess, or unintended, is that it kind of requires a different form of Karin or a new level of Karin. So how, and heck, you're even part of the reinvention coach. That's like your thing, especially with the latest. So with reinvention, any three things that you want folks to keep in mind when it comes to reinventing themselves? 'Cause that's one of the major keys of elite performers, that they always reinvent themselves to not only fit the situation they're in, but to fit the future that they're building towards.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things I would say is so important is to burn the ships. I actually just did a video about this on my YouTube channel. And so what do I mean by burn the ships? When you go to a new island or you want to create this behavior change, right? You have to burn the ship so you don't go back to your home. You don't go back to that comfortable thing. And I'm using air quotes to say comfortable because there's a reason you left that home, right? There's a reason I left corporate. I wasn't happy. But I'll tell you what, when you suddenly don't have a 6-figure paycheck and you're standing in the midst of like writing a book about something very personal that you don't know how people are going to receive it, if you're going to be judged. What if you need to go back to corporate someday and actually make more money for your family because the book doesn't do well? Like there's so many things that come up in your mind. It's so tempting to like hop back on that ship and go back to your comfortable island, but you have to burn the ships. So just to kind of like paint the picture of what that looked like for me, you know, I donated all of my suits to Goodwill because I thought at least someone else, you know, who was in the process of climbing the ladder, you know, I want to give someone else an opportunity to make that money and to follow whatever their dream might be. So I donated all my suits. As soon as I found out, I was actually laid off. So it was a push from the universe. I had plans to quit my job at the end of the year, but the universe got to me sooner. And so which was amazing. And it was like the best day of my life. But I immediately returned all of my devices. Anything that had to do with my work life, boom, I got rid of it. I returned it to the business. I shred any papers I had around the house that mentioned that company. Like I was like, I need a very hard line and separation from old Karin and who new Karin is going to be. And one of the things we did, and this was at the height of the pandemic. I mean, this is, you know, September 2020, where we all thought the world was going to open back up, but, you know, it just wasn't. It lingered it's still lingering, unfortunately. But we took a vacation. We said, I was like, I have to have a big enough break from old Karin and new Karin that like, I have to go to a different environment. So we rented a cabin up in Cape May, like a little cottage for the week. We went to the beach every day. You know, we went to restaurants, even though I had no business spending all this money, but I was like, whatever, like, I just need to go and have this moment for myself to celebrate me leaving and not going back to that island that's been so comfortable for me for so many years. So that's one thing, you know, burning the ships for sure will help with that reinvention, because you're basically forced then to hold yourself accountable and commit. For me, the reinvention started even earlier than that. And that began with what I call turning inward and getting really honest with myself. And I did that through journaling and just really writing down, like, what are my goals? What are my aspirations? I was so good at complaining about my life and pointing out all the things I didn't like. But damn, I literally couldn't have told you what I wanted my life to look like. I didn't know what the North Star was, you know? How was I going to go north if I didn't know what that even looked like, where that was? So I started really getting honest with myself. What do I want my life to look like? Do I want to work 10-hour days? Do I want to work weekends? Do I want to work nights? Like, what do I want this to look like? And I started like building my schedule around things that were important to me and then fitting my business in around that. So like, I don't work Fridays. I just don't. Friday is my day. I might go volunteer. I might get like a mani-pedi. I might meditate. I might work out, whatever, but I do not do traditional business stuff on Fridays. And that is the commitment that I have made to myself because of what I know I want my new life to look like. So definitely take the time to plan and to get honest with yourself about what matters. Because for me, like so many years, like, I got to make more money. I got to make more money. But why? So I can have a bigger car, so I can have a bigger house, so I can have newer, fancier clothes. But I was like, this doesn't fulfill me. Like, I have it all. I have the Benz in the driveway. I have the nice 4-bedroom house now. Like, I have all these things, but I can't take it with me. Like, it was empty. It was empty stuff. And so I was like, no, I want to create the little micro moments, you know, the moments with my kids where we're just laughing over a board game that we're playing, right? Or something. Like, those were the moments I was missing out on that I wanted to fill my life with more. And then, not to be like, oh, plugging myself, but honestly, for me, I hired a coach because I knew this was going to be such a challenge, and I'd never launched a book before, and I'd never started a business before. I'd never been an entrepreneur. I'd always been in corporate and worked for someone else. And I thought, I need to, what we call in the coaching business, pay for speed. Like, I need someone that I can pay who is going to show me all the ropes of setting up a coaching business, everything that I need to do, how to structure my Facebook group, how to, you know, And so I hired someone, and it was a huge, oh my gosh, this, besides my editor, hiring my business coach is the biggest investment I've ever made in myself. And that's so significant because women do not invest in themselves the way that men do. Men are much more comfortable with spending money on themselves and hiring coaches, but women tend to have a different relationship with money. So that transaction in and of itself, just handing over this lump sum to this woman, my coach really sent a message to my brain that I mean business. I'm going to make this a success. And so my whole mindset shifted. And then my brain and my inner critic was actually like, oh, she's for real. Okay. Then like, let's help her do this. Like actually they were like on my team now, instead of being like, I don't know, Karen, I don't know if you can do this, you don't really have the skills, blah, blah, all that negative junk that gets in our head. So that's why I say, like, don't be afraid to ask someone else for help, whether it's professionally hiring someone, or even if you just have your little board of directors who is not paid, that's just people from your network who can help you with your reinvention. It's so valuable to have that support.
Yeah. That's right. Triangle attack, y'all. That's right. Gotta burn them boats and gotta go inward indeed as you're on that journey. And heck, don't be afraid to invest in yourself. Because you're so right, like the coaching, like, especially like nowadays where folks like, oh God, everybody's a coach. And a lot of folks are skeptical about
Yeah,
it, depending on the charlatans that are out there. Not all of them, far from all of
right.
them, because I invested in a coach myself a few years ago, and you're so right. Like, it's a great investment. Like, folks maybe they're like, what do you need a coach for? This ain't basketball. Like, hey, it's life. Like, it's longer than a game, y'all.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, it was so funny because I was on the other day with a potential client, and she's like, I just don't know if I need a coach. My life isn't that bad. And I was like, whoa, let me change your perspective. You don't hire a coach only because your life is bad. You might hire a coach because your life is bad, but actually most people who hire a coach are hiring it because they want to maximize their life. They want to get the most potential out of their life. So I always try to like flip their mindset on this. Like, no one is saying you have a bad life. And actually, that's why I call my program Edit Your Life. Because when I was working with my editor on the book, I didn't send him a chapter and have him go, oh, this is garbage, completely start over. He was like, oh, wow, this is great. Let me work with the bones. Like, here, let's actually tell this part of the story first and then flashback to this. And I'm like, oh, good idea. Like, he would just help me restructure it and make a few edits or tweaks to the story, but he wasn't changing it completely. And so that for me resonated so much as I started to move into coaching. Like, I'm not totally changing someone's life. I mean, yeah, we're reinventing it, but we're doing that through these small tweaks and edits that are very comfortable for the person to move through. So I hope that, resonates. I've articulated that clearly, but for me, just don't feel like you have to hire someone just because things are in complete disarray. It's all about taking it to the next level.
That's right. Coaches aren't firemen, y'all. That's right.
Sometimes not. I mean, it just like depends on the person sometimes too. It's
Yeah,
been
that's true.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, because as you're saying that, I just picture that meme with the little girl in front of the burning house with the "Oops, I did it" smile.
Right. Oh my gosh. And some of these, I mean, sometimes I have really said to clients, like, look, potential clients, I've said, look, I don't think you're ready for a coach yet. I think you still have some things to work through, because there's people who've showed up with a victim mentality, right? And they have adopted that victim mentality so much that it's actually become part of their identity, that there's no amount of I shouldn't say no amount, but the amount of coaching that would be required to get them to where they're actually ready to receive the message would be such a challenge, and honestly a waste of their money. So I'm like, come back to me when you are ready to really truly make a change, and then we will talk, because I want, my clients to experience the transformation. And you can tell from some people, they're just not ready for it. They're not committed to actually making a change.
Yeah, that's right. You got to be committed to the quarters, y'all. I'm telling you. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Q1 to Q4 and beyond. Not just the 25 cents. Indeed, got to be committed to those quotas, y'all. That's
Yes.
right. Indeed. So, since you're on this mini podcast tour, is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if there is a question, but I do like to make sure that people know that one of the ways that I'm finding my bigger purpose through the book is I am donating a portion of the proceeds to Alliance for Period Supplies. And they are a nationwide organization here in the States that helps women who are of low income get access to period supplies that they couldn't otherwise afford. And so for me, it was so important that this book had that bigger purpose, because that was really what was lacking for me in many ways when I was in corporate. And being able to team up with an organization that has such a big reach and can make such a big impact was really important. And obviously, since it has to do with the vagina, it was like perfectly on brand for me. But yeah, I mean, there are women out there today who literally have to make a decision when they get their period. Am I going to feed my children, or am I going to go buy tampons this week? I can't even imagine what that decision is like. And I don't think any woman should ever have to decide between sanitary products and putting food on the table. So, I'm hoping that the book takes off so that I can have as big of an impact as possible. But even if not, I've committed some of my funds to make sure that it's a worthwhile investment for the Alliance for Period Supplies to team up with me. So I hope that, even if you're not sure if this book is for you, you'll give it a try based on the fact that it's for a good cause. And it makes an awesome gift for baby showers, bridal showers, sweet 16s, sending your kids off to college. I mean, you name it. Women of all ages will enjoy it.
Ah, sounds good indeed. So, if this book was a food item, what would it be and why?
Ooh. I would go, oh gosh, that's a good question. No one's asked me that before. Maybe like it's definitely a berry. It has to be some sort of berry or juicy fruit. I mean, maybe like I would go with berries. I love berries. So I would say like a strawberry.
Ah, there you go. That's right. Strawberries indeed, folks. That's right. So if you want some good strawberries, definitely check out this magical book indeed. And if you really want to level up, put some chocolate over the strawberry. That's right. Not on the actual book though. You got to still read the book though.
Yeah. Oh, and there's such a funny story. Speaking of chocolate, there is such a funny story in the book about an incident I had with some chocolate body butter. It did not end well for me. So just stay away from the body butter, people. Maybe don't put anything on this fruit. Your fruit should not be, you should not put anything on your fruit. Leave it alone. It is self-cleaning. Don't put the body butter on there, or at least take a shower afterwards. So you're welcome, in case no one ever gave you that memo either. I'm full of these. I got them all day long.
Oh man, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about indeed. Sweet. So we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive. And that is, if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but this time you're in the current year of 2022 with all of your amassed knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself and Lady V?
So good. And I've listened to your episode, so I knew this question was coming. And when I first was thinking about what I would say, I was very tempted to go back and tell myself to continue following your dreams. Like, don't give up your acting career to go into corporate, because that's how this whole thing happened in the first place. Like, just stay the course and keep following your dreams. But honestly, I don't know how my life would have turned out, and things have happened. I think everything happens for a reason. I think there's a reason that I went into corporate. I think there's a reason that I had a midlife crisis. I think there's a reason I wrote this book, and that I've, now coaching to help other women reinvent their lives and experience the joy and the happiness that I'm experiencing. So what I think I would go back and tell my 25-year-old self is to stop worrying so much about what others think of you, and stop buying so many damn purses, because that is where it all fell apart. Because I was only supposed to be in corporate for 1 year, making this money. And then I was going to quit and go back to my acting. But the problem is I got my first commission check and I had 4 numbers on it. And I'd never seen a check with 4 numbers on it. And I was like, I'm rich. And I went straight to the Coach store and I bought like a purse and an iPod holder and a scarf and like all these things. And then that's how I got addicted, right? I got addicted to the money drug and the material stuff. And I'm not saying it wasn't nice, but it didn't buy happiness. It just really didn't for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Funny enough, as you were saying that, it just hit me as like, oh yeah, when they say money doesn't buy happiness, they're focusing on the stuff part. It's like, it's not the stuff part, it's just the ability to not have to worry about like paying bills for the stuff that you need and just being able to buy more time to have more experiences to experience life at a higher level. That's really what it's truly about. Not the Coach bags and the scarves. Even though
Yeah.
it's nice stuff, it's shiny. You just probably want to pet it, probably get a little poodle to put inside the Coach bag.
Yeah. I did. I used to have a puggle and I tried sticking him in a leopard print bag, but he didn't like it and jumped out on the underwear table in Victoria's Secret and panties were flying everywhere. So that was needless to say the last time I put him in a bag and took him into a store. But yes, that was a very trendy thing to do back in 2005.
Well, since you said Victoria's Secret, folks, go back and check out the Bob Doyle episode as well. He was from The Secret. He was on the podcast in the summer of 2020. So check that out since she mentioned Victoria's Secret.
Oh, I'll have to go listen to that one now. I missed that one.
Oh, yeah. Bob got to be himself in that episode.
Interesting. I'm intrigued.
That's right, folks. Don't put a poodle in your purse, y'all.
Life advice. You heard it right here first on the Going North podcast.
Oh, man. So any parting word? Well, before that, where can folks find you?
Absolutely. So you can check out my website, KarinFreeland.com, and it's Karin with an I, Karin. You can find me on Instagram at Karin Freeland, Twitter at Karin Freeland, and then on LinkedIn, you can find me Karin Freeland Avilis, and I think, Facebook, Karin Freeland Life Coaching. But go get the book. It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes and Noble. The Ins and Outs of My Vagina, Penetrating Memoir. And, like I said, a portion of the proceeds goes to help Alliance for Period Supplies. So really appreciate everyone's support.
Yeah, there we go. That's right. Karin Freeland, y'all. That coaching, y'all. That's right. Get yourself a coach, y'all. I'm telling you. That's right. Probably one of the few coaches out there that knows the lady bits around that can help you edit your life, y'all. I'm telling you. That's right. You could be in chapter 27 of your life. She can help you get to chapter 50 in a year, probably. That's right. She'll help you make that quantum leap indeed. That's right. You'll feel like putting on bunny ears because of the quantum leaps you'll make. That's right. That's right. You might even bake them too. It'll be shake, bake, and make. That's right. That's right. Indeed. So any parting words before we close up shop, Karin?
Yeah, to anybody who's listening that feels stuck or frustrated, like you're not really sure what your next move should be, I have been there. I can totally relate. And I will just tell you, go back to my advice around turning inward. Get really honest with yourself. You, believe it or not, have every single answer you need buried deep within inside you. It's just a matter of being honest enough with yourself to really hear it and look for those signs. You got this.
How's it going, my friend? I'm so glad you made it to the end. That shows that you are an uncommon finisher, and I am so grateful for you sharing your ears, your attention, and your time to this wonderful podcast to do something that'll take yourself to the next level. And for everybody else involved in this wonderful program, share it with at least 3 people in your network so that way more folks can not only catch the fire that is on this podcast, but can also be inspired to be their best. Advance others to advance yourself.